happened to me. Okay, brace yourself. Okay. I spent a year in Russia from 97 to 8. I was 22 and my moral character was in a pitiful state. I was on a quest for pleasure and I followed every lead. I had no time for scruples, but for women, oh yes indeed. One opportunity came in the form of a piece of paper handed to me by my landlady, who'd been given it by a neighbour. It said, "Woman seeks private tutor. Phone 86924. So, within a matter of hours, I was knocking on a stranger's door. Her name was Katerina, and although she was a model, to my surprise and delight, seducing her proved a doddle. And so we became an item. I didn't tutor her much, but I learned a great deal from her about a woman's touch. How can I ever thank you? I asked rhetorically. She knew just how and said, "Steal something to prove your love to me." My lack of moral fibre and the thought of Katerina undressed conspired to make me do it. Soon after, I was under arrest. But I wasn't locked up. Instead, I was told to rendezvous with a plain-clothed gentleman called Boris, who'd tell me what I needed to do. Now, Boris had been given my statement, the evidence of my crime. He said, "I'll destroy this if you..." I thought he'd say pay a fine, but he didn't. He said, "Get me the names of drug dealers, as many as possible." How on earth was I meant to do that? I was completely at a loss. I looked at him in disbelief. I was miles up shit creek. But Boris just smiled and said, "I'll see you again in a week." So I thought about my options. Install some listening bugs, put on a false beard, go around buying drugs. But then, thank God, I saw sense and fessed up to my friends. And their advice makes all the difference to how my story ends. They told me I shouldn't do anything and to let them pull some strings. And I definitely shouldn't chase drug dealers or put on beards and things. So I went back to Boris a week later and told him I'd had no success. And he said, "I know," and proceeded to tell me every address that I'd visited in the past week. That's because I'm in the FSB. That's the organisation that took over from the feared KGB. And that thing about drug dealers was a test that I'm pleased to say you've passed. So now we can work together. It's going to be a blast. So we opened 2 bottles of beer to celebrate our newfound trust. But I wasn't tempted and requested that he drive me back to my bus. Eventually he did, though he looked rather annoyed. I never was locked up, so I guess my statement was destroyed. Katerina lost interest too, which made me feel a bit crap. But in retrospect, good riddance to that foxy honey trap. So that's the anticlimactic end to my sleazy Russian drama. Since then, I've tried to stay closer to home, and my life's been somewhat calmer. What an embarrassing story. Wasn't I easily led? But thank God things didn't go worse, or by now I could be a spy, or dead.